Have you ever moved and forgotten to change the address on your driver's license? Beware, because one area, town or city rather, might ticket you for that. It's a city that we've found tickets more frequently than most. Here's our latest joint investigation with ProPublica. After running a stop sign, Bianca Hansen faced fines totaling
$777.
Right before Christmas, Gretna police pulled her over, and the stop sign violation turned into a laundry list of charges.
Expired brake tag, expired license, expired license plate.
Bianca Hansen isn't questioning her guilt, but she does think it's unfair that a single traffic infraction in the city of Gretna became what she described as a budget-breaking event, even after the court lowered her fine to $600.
I really just ran the stop sign, and I wasn't expecting. I thought they was going to give you a chance to get everything straight and bring it back. They don't give you a chance to do any of that. You're going to get what you get.
In 1 year, Gretna collected more in fines and related fees than most other cities and towns in Louisiana, more than much larger cities like Shreveport, Lake Charles, and Monroe. Since last November, we've been reporting on mayor's courts across the state, courts unique to Ohio and Louisiana. The law allows mayors or someone they appoint to sit as judge, unlike traffic or municipal courts, which in Louisiana are overseen by elected judges. In Fenton, Louisiana, we found a mayor sitting on the bench presiding over cases as he ran the town with the fines collected from defendants. He stepped down from the bench after our story aired. Our reporting took us to another town with a mayor's court in the metro area, Gretna, for a different reason. Gretna generates so much revenue in part because defendants there face more in fines than in 7 other cities and towns around New Orleans. Between 2020 and 22, the average case in Gretna's court totaled $457. Compare that to nearby West Wego. The average was $340. New Orleans $279, Harahan $271, Kenner $268, and Covington $208. Paul Massa is a New Orleans attorney. His specialty, traffic tickets, many written by local police and handled by courts that answer to their mayors.
By and large, they got all of us. We're all speeding. They're taking advantage of the opportunity to write tickets as fast as they can, setting the price, running the whole operation.
And Massa says he's seen that up close in Gretna.
It's a money grab.
It's the easiest grab they have.
State law sets a cap on how much towns can fine drivers for each traffic violation, but officers can bring as many charges as they see fit. And when people are stopped in Gretna, they end up with more charges than people in other towns. More charges mean more fines and fees. On average, defendants in Gretna had 2.4 violations per case. The 7 other towns we looked at in the area had an average of 1.4 violations. We found a driver who sped in a school zone, was also charged $205 for using a phone in that school zone, another $105 for an obscured windshield. Another driver ticketed for an obscured windshield too, and fined another $105 for failure to change the address on their driver's license. We found some fines for a concealed VIN, drivers wearing headphones, someone drinking in a parking lot, even the wrong color of lights or reflectors. Nearly half of the violations in Gretna were related to vehicle registration, driver's licenses, brake tags, or insurance. The city of Gretna declined our request for an interview, but in a series of emails defended how it runs its police department and its court. A lawyer for the city told us the fear of a financial penalty deters motorists from breaking the law and creates a safer city. He writes there is nothing wrong with charging a defendant with multiple municipal or state offenses if indeed the charging officer has probable cause to believe that these violations have occurred. Once charged, a defendant has each and every legal and constitutional right afforded him or her. But other towns handle some offenses differently.
I think that a lot of those tend to be seen as ticky-tack.
Ronald Surpass served as chief of police in New Orleans and Nashville, and early in his career was a motorcycle officer. Surpass said he would advise his officers to write tickets for some offenses, like not having insurance or a driver's license, But for other offenses like a brake tag, expired license plate, or equipment violation, he encouraged officers to simply educate the driver instead of writing a ticket. When you operated as a chief or just as a motorcycle officer, like what, 70% of the time your departments would give a warning, education?
Washington, Nashville, and New Orleans, yeah.
Why education and not ticket?
Because the point is to try to help change people's behavior. You know, we have some pretty strong research that suggests to us in this procedural justice realm that when police officers, not unlike doctors and nurses, when they explain to you why they're doing what they're doing, and you actually listen to what they're saying in response, even if the outcome isn't what the citizen wanted, they're generally not mad at the police anymore.
Gretna's uncompromising approach continues when defendants go to court. Bianca Hansen said she got things in order before her court date, getting a license plate, brake tag, and her license reinstated. But she found out that didn't matter when she got to court in Gretna, as seen in this video shown to defendants.
Many of you are here because of technical violations, such as expired or counterfeit brake tags, expired license plates, broken tail lights, window tint, and other things. If you have gotten these things fixed, I am happy to hear that you did, but the law requires me to determine your guilt or innocence based only on what existed at the time of your citation.
And defendants can rack up more charges. If they don't pay and they don't come to court to explain why, the court typically adds another charge, contempt of court, with a $150 fine each time.
You must come to court and ask for additional time, or you can be held in contempt and receive a larger fine.
People are charged with contempt of court in Gretna more often than nearby towns we looked at that track these charges. About half of Gretna's cases over 3 years. Gretna said it's common for courts to add contempt charges, and it does so to compel people to come to court, writing if a defendant refuses to participate and simply ignores a court order to attend a hearing, the court has the duty to preserve the integrity of the process.
Well, I call that the traffic ticket fine treadmill. If you get a ticket and you incur a contempt fine because you missed the payment or you didn't go to court or whatever the reason the contempt is, you get an extra fee. If you have money, you can pay. If you don't have money, what are you going to do?
And you call it a treadmill because?
It's just going and running, you're running and running and running, and you'll never get to where you're going, which is final payment. You're done. But along the way, you've got a warrant, you've got a suspended license, you've lost your job, or all the implications of, I can't drive a car lawfully anymore.
According to data we obtained from the city last May, defendants in Gretna faced at least $1.5 million in outstanding contempt fines. But Gretna rarely collects. A lawyer for the city says the prosecutor often drops those charges when people do come to court. The city's lawyer emphasized that the court does not charge people with contempt for failing to pay, which some criminal justice advocates have said can penalize people for being poor. Gretna's lawyer said defendants face a contempt charge only if they fail to show up in court to explain why they didn't make a payment. Traffic stops by Gretna police and the money that flows through Mayor's Court have been the subject of lawsuits over the years.
But at minimum, 3 tickets.
In this secretly recorded audio nearly 10 years ago, a supervisor told a Gretna officer to write more tickets.
We'd like to see more tickets.
Right.
Because of the nature of it, you're not required to, do anything else. But at minimum, 3 tickets.
The officer sued, filing the audio in court and claiming he was forced to resign after complaining about the department's ticket quota, which is illegal under state law.
And he said that's something that he's asking for y'all to reach for a goal.
Okay.
Gretna told Fox 8 and ProPublica the supervisor wasn't authorized to speak for the department and that she was wrong, adding Gretna has never had nor does it have a ticket quota imposed upon the officers of its police department or upon any city employee. For the same lawsuit, another former officer submitted a recording in which he said a supervisor told him he had to write 3 to 4 citations a day and not for people who don't pay their fines, because that doesn't bring money into the system. The supervisor wanted strong, solid arrests with convictions or to make people pay their fines. A lawyer for the city told Fox 8 and ProPublica the officers' allegations were false. The city filed in court more than a dozen affidavits from officers saying they knew nothing about a quota system, but the city agreed to settle the case and pay the officer an undisclosed amount.
You got to keep coming back if you're going to make physical payments back there.
It's taken Ryan Frazier more than 8 years to pay off his fines.
Yeah, I was pulled over in 2015 for speeding.
That led to more charges, including
Suspended license and expired insurance.
And an expired brake tag. We found Frazier leaving Mayor's Court after agreeing again to a payment plan to pay off his tickets. And this time he said he's leaving Gretna in the rear-view mirror.
Not coming back. I'm sitting there, Gretna. Y'all have a wonderful life because y'all won't be seeing me anymore.
In a series of statements, Gretna attorney John Litchfield said after expenses, the court brings in very little revenue. He said the fines and forfeitures collected by the town include traffic camera tickets that don't go through Mayor's Court. But even without that revenue, we found that Gretna's Mayor's Court collected more in fines and fees than most cities and towns in the state. Litchfield wrote Gretna does not operate its Mayor's Court as a source of revenue, but as a public safety and enforcement tool, adding the most common complaint voiced by citizens of Gretna at neighborhood association meetings and other community gatherings is that the Gretna police need to do more policing of traffic offenses in the city, not less.